All right, so the next thing I just want to show you real quick is our MIDI manager and just so far the basic support that I have in here. There's a lot of other cooler MIDI things that I'm working on, but I'm trying to finalize some of the conversion engine and some of the other bits first. So here's what we have. If you go to File, go to your MIDI settings. This is just using Apple's built-in MIDI support, which is nice because they have a whole bunch of library stuff built in. So I didn't really actually have to really program much other than saying connect to it, which is pretty sweet. So you can see this is, it can see my complete control as well as like my RME, and I actually have my export is disconnected, so it's not showing up there. You can obviously refresh it. In this case, I'm just going to say go ahead and connect to my complete. So it should have connected. If I hit refresh, I did notice that sometimes. Yeah, it took a second. Tell it to stop. There we go. Sometimes there's a little delay in connecting it. I don't know if that's I have like a USB hub and then another USB hub before this keyboard, so it might have been that, but whatever. Anyways, it connected, cool. Obviously you can see last note, act notes, triggering all stuff right here. There's some MIDI learn stuff. You can, close out, you can clear all your mappings. You can see what's already mapped. Just pretty typical stuff. Nothing fancy, but this is, again, if you have a MIDI device and you want to do it, that you just go to MIDI, settings, boom, right there. Now, some other things, again, there's a lot of other little toggles and other things that the MIDI mapping doesn't let you click on yet being the keyword. I will get that working down the road. But for right now, at least your major knobs are working. So one thing to point out is these default to green. So like if I go to your key group, you can see these are green. The orange part is if it's been mapped. So if I go back to sample edit here as an example, so right now you can't see my hand, but I'm using a knob on my complete control keyboard. So there you go. So now to do that, just like any other DAW or anything else, click learn, touch the knob you want, and then move the knob on your MIDI. And that's it. Pretty simple. Click learn to finish, boom, it's mapped. So super easy. Yeah, I mean, really, like, can't get much easier than that, right? So that is the MIDI mapping. One, again, I'm gonna make it later. There's some other little toggles and other things that you can't click on yet that I want to have work in the MIDI. At some point, we'll get there. One other part that, again, is just like just the skeleton of working. I don't have all the logic in there yet, but I do have this macro knob, kind of inspired by Ableton Live with their like little eight knobs. But I didn't want to be limited by 8, and I was like, well, maybe I'll do 16. And I was like, well, what if you have a huge screen and you want a whole bunch, or maybe a whole bunch is too much? So what I did is give you a little gear, and you can just choose how many you want. I don't care. You want? I made it up to 48. 48 sounded like way more than you would ever need in this application. So 48 is the max. You can scroll all the way left, all the way right, or you could just get to a more reasonable number. All right, so some quick presets. You can clear the assignments, etc. And then if I click learn, this is one of the parts I gotta fix. Again, I just the skeleton of this, but it's kind of like, okay, so you could choose here and then touch a knob. So now that macro, I'm using my controller MIDI, right? So you can see it's adjusting it, and it's adjusting this and this, but you can see that mapping is wrong. See how it says attack and pan? Again, I got to go through and actually I think I'd already mapped pan, which is probably why it's doing that. But point is, I got to fix some of the logic for the macros here, but the idea will be that you can kind of, when you're in different screens, that if you want to, like this little macro panel at the bottom, so you can quickly adjust all the different parameters And this is going to get into more fun stuff with some live performance mode. So like some more real-timey stuff that I'm hoping to put in here if everything works well. So I just wanted this sort of macro panel, again, sort of inspired by Ableton Live. So that's like very, very alpha in here. I'm putting like zero effort into that panel. I just wanted to build it out, make sure it kind of worked, which it kind of does work. And now I'm going to put all my attention more into the conversion and the audio engine and some other cool things that I'm working on, and then I'll get back to that. But anyways, so again, you got your learn, you got your macro panel, and then since we're actually talking about MIDI, we also have this virtual keyboard. So the idea with the virtual keyboard is, let's say you're not in your studio. I am in my studio right now, so I can I can play stuff back just on my keyboard. But let's say you're not. Stop that. You can click just with your mouse. So it's just a handy way to do that. But you also get your QWERTY keyboard. So this, I have it toggled on by default when you open this. I need to make this so you can toggle it off, but the idea would be so I can use my keyboard on not my MIDI keyboard, but my keyboard on my laptop here. So I'm just hitting E, R, T, Y, S, whatever. You can trigger them right there. And so it's your top row, it's the QWERTY, and then also your numbers. The numbers are the black notes, and the QWERTY line is your white notes. Okay, so we did have a bug earlier where if you were trying to save something, the QWERTY wouldn't go away. That should be fixed now. So if I'm back in the table view and I try to rename, I don't know, we'll rename this default program. Let's see if I type, see how it's triggering right there. But now if I click on here, I can type, which is cool because before brand one, there we go, save, cool. So I fixed it where if that window is in focus, the QWERTY doesn't overtake it. So that bug is fixed. So that's it. So that's your MIDI. So you got your virtual keyboard. Again, you can, and in the bottom right corner, in case you didn't notice, this is where you can see, your active listening stuff in terms of MIDI, like what notes are coming in, right? So that's there. So we got our listener, we got our virtual keyboard, we got our macro panel, and you got your assignments and your connection stuff inside the MIDI settings. So that's it for MIDI.